Welcome back. Well, a ring of steel has been installed outside a weapons expo in Melbourne, where thousands of protesters are preparing for the biggest anti-war rally in more than 2 decades. They are live pictures as we go to air right now. Joining us to discuss today's headlines is Nationals Senator Matt Canavan and Independent MP Monique. Ryan, good to see you both. Monique, I'll start with you as a fellow Melburnian. I think we can both concede that our home city is the protest capital of this country, but this is next level. This police operation is going to cost taxpayers $15 million.
Yes, I guess it's the price of democracy. People do have a right to protest. I hope that things remain peaceful today and that the protesters and the police can maintain, reasonable distances and it can be respectful. It is important that people express their distress about things like certain industries or conflicts internationally, but we really want to make sure that everyone is kept safe.
Is it a bit misguided, though? I mean, what are they actually going to achieve here? We understand their grievances, but getting out onto the streets, bringing the city to a standstill, the economic pain that's going to have as well, and just disturbing everyone's day.
Yeah, that's true, but it is an important part of democracy that people have the right to peaceful protest.
All right, Matt, regional and interstate resources have also been brought in. Victoria really has bolstered its powers here. At what stage do you just can the convention altogether?
Well, look, I'd love it to come back to Queensland, bring it back to Queensland. I think Monique's right, they kind of like to protest down there, so I'm not sure why they took a weapons expo down to Melbourne. Bring it to North Queensland, even better. We'll be fine, we'll welcome with you open arms. But look, I mean, Monique's right, people have a right to protest. I can't believe it's costing this much money. Maybe that's a reason why, or a response to previous violent protests. So look, I just hope this protest is safe. It would be quite an irony if anti-war, anti-violence protest engaged in lots of violent conduct. So we'll wait and see. But let's hope it's everybody keeps safe on the streets of Melbourne today. Yeah,
and police have a few more extra powers, so we'll see how that plays out as well. Well, moving on, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is forging ahead with landmark legislation which will enforce age limits on social media. Monique, I guess the big question is how this will actually work. It's been trialled in countries like the US and France without much success. Are you confident it could work here?
Look, I'm really concerned that this won't work, actually. We all know that social media can cause harms to our kids and we're concerned about that. But we don't have a model for how this could work. We've seen plenty of instances in the past where governments have spent lots of time and money on digital protections that our kids have got around in about 3.5 minutes. I think we need a lot more detail before we commit to putting too much time and effort into this.
Yeah, Matt, I think like Monique said, there is no doubt that we all want to protect kids, right, especially when it comes to the evils of social media, as we've seen play out far too often. But how do you actually do it? That's the challenge.
Yeah, look, in theory I support it. I welcomed it yesterday, but the more I've read about it, the more I am getting concerned about what this actually means. As Monique says, I mean, if it's a fairly standard tick-a-box exercise, my kids definitely will get around it. What's next then? Are they going to require ID to sign up to social media? If that's the case, presumably that binds adults as well to prove their ID. And I don't really like the idea of giving over Australians' ID to international tech companies. So look, I think there's a lot of devil in this detail, and that needs to be looked at as it goes through the parliament. Yeah,
there's no silver bullet, that's for sure. Well, also this morning, the Greens are getting in the way of an RBA overhaul, demanding Michelle Bullock retain power over how banks lend money. Matt, the Treasurer says this is all because the coalition isn't on board.
Well, it's all because the Treasurer is trying to take over the RBA here. He's in a war with the RBA right now. He's got a clear agenda to try and replace the board of the RBA. That's what this legislation would allow him to do, and we don't think it's right and proper for a government to be interfering with the independent RBA that served Australia well for a generation now. So, look, that's why we haven't supported it. We've tried to have reasonable negotiation with the Treasurer, and now he's going to go negotiate something with the Greens. So, look, I don't think that's going to end well for any Australians who are struggling right now with their mortgage.
You think he's going to sack and stack?
Sorry?
You think he's going to stack with his
Well, that's clearly his intention. Why does he need to replace the whole board under this legislation? Clearly the intent is to stack this in favour of himself. As I say, he wants to gain control, clearly, of monetary policy because he's unhappy about the response to his excessive fiscal spending that the RBA has engaged in.
Monique, the Treasurer says, I mean, he's going to have to rely here on the minor parties to get this through. Will you weigh in?
Look, I think the first thing to say is that it's extraordinary to see the government doing deals both with the Liberals and the Greens in recent weeks, and it really does point to the fact that we have an unholy cabal of major parties at times. I think that it's really important that the RBA retain its independence, and I think it's really great that we have independent authorities challenging the government, holding them to account, and I'm very supportive of the RBA and its activities.
All right, finally, Buckingham Palace has announced King Charles and Queen Camilla's visit to Australia. But, guys, they are completely snubbing both of our states. They're not going to visit Victoria or Queensland. What's going on?
Well, didn't Charles go to school in Geelong, didn't he?
Yes, exactly.
He already knows it quite well, so maybe he doesn't
So
need to see. He's already been to Victoria, he knows nothing to see there.
He needs some prawns on a barbecue in Queensland, doesn't he?
Everyone likes a bit of Queensland sun every now and then.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it.